that.
And disconnect.
It says charging stop.
It's gone red now. There you go. Error.
Done.
Electric vehicles are here and the infrastructure is fast springing up around the country. But with a variety of different chargers, power outputs, payment methods and capacity, it can sometimes be a frustrating experience. So when I was asked by my father to help out with some filming for his YouTube channel, I got to see firsthand what the charging experience is like for UK EV drivers. So to find out what went wrong, stick around as Jonas takes it on. To say that my father is a hit with the children would be an understatement, and his love of electric vehicles has clearly worn off on my son Stanton, who can't stop talking about Tesla and points them out whenever we're out and about. That's in part because my father has the 7-seat version of the Model S, which has the rear-facing child seats. It's a totally different experience for the kids compared to his previous vehicles. But during all this time, I realised I'd never seen him charge his car. That's because he usually charges it up at home overnight, except for when he's out working. In fact, despite having been in his car probably 100 times, I actually didn't know anything about the part that makes electric vehicles so different: the charging. As an EV owner, my father knows his stuff. He's regularly talking about upcoming Tesla vehicles, charging infrastructure and battery technology. But hearing about it is very different to experiencing it all firsthand. So it was we met up early, jumped in his car and headed off down the M6. We stopped off for a McDonald's breakfast, discussed the filming schedule and then set about testing the various different options available. First up was GridServe at Lim Services. This is where I discovered the difference between CCS, which stands for Combined Charging System, and CHAdeMO, which is an abbreviation of Charge to Move, which translates to Charge for Moving. These are the two main types of charging connection. This particular unit was a 60 kilowatt model, which gave a real world output of 46 kilowatts. When using a CCS charger, Tesla users need an adapter. This must be carried around with you and is a bit awkward if you ask me. I'd worry about losing it, and one time my father actually did misplace it.
Yeah, it's the third unit. Oh, where's the adapter?
All in all though, it was pretty straightforward.
Stop charging. Charging is finished.
And then disconnect.
Well, might have to lock on here. You can see the screen unlock. Let's do it.
Next up was Crow Orchard, which is operated by EV Power and has 8 charging points that support up to 150 kilowatts. But this is where things get a bit more complicated. The CCS connector supports up to 150 kilowatt, but only at 920 volts, which very few vehicles use. At 400 volts, which is the standard voltage, it supports up to 100 kilowatt.
I think 50 kilowatts. I've not used one of these.
This one's 80.
Oh, that's 80. This
Oh,
is
right.
150. What I'm using is 150.
This is also where we encountered our first issue of the trip. The first charging point wouldn't communicate with my father's car. The connection lights would light up blue, only to go red, and the charging display reported a charging error. Multiple attempts to resolve this got us nowhere.
Doing anything?
So starting, please wait.
I'm just waiting for it to go green. Not doing anything yet. Nope.
For that, so this is interesting footage. This is what people who don't have a Tesla put up with all the time. Things, yeah. Retruck.
In the end, we ended up moving to another charging point and everything worked as expected. Another driver came along several minutes later and was able to use that original charging point that gave us an error, so I'm not really sure what was going on. Regardless, we headed off to Charnock Richard Services, where we encountered the first Tesla supercharger on our trip. Being designed for Tesla vehicles, this was a markedly different experience. We simply pulled up, picked up the charging connector, and it even had a button on it to open the charging port on the car. And, most importantly, no adapters necessary. There wasn't even a payment system to worry about, as this was all handled behind the scenes. No need to present a debit card that reserves £40 on your account just to allow you to start using it. Last on our list was the BP Pulse charging point at the Anderton Arms. This was a bit of a strange one, as it only had a single charging point, tucked away at the back under some trees. It seemed a bit lonely, if I'm being honest. This was a 50 kilowatt charger and was similar to the others, though it didn't tell you the charging speed on the display, only the total amount it had charged so far. But we couldn't leave things there, so we took a bit of a detour and headed over to Blackburn to check out the fastest charging speeds in the country. That's with Ionity, which has 350 kilowatt chargers. However, as of right now, there isn't any vehicle that can actually take advantage of those speeds. The Porsche Taycan allows up to 225 kilowatts and the Audi e-tron supports up to 150. Despite having the capability to deliver higher speeds, my father's Tesla only charged at 46 kilowatt. This was likely a limitation of the vehicle, as another car was getting about double that speed.
Can you see? I really actually can't read it. Oh. Right, waiting for connection. Okay, stop rolling again.
Do you need your adapter?
Yes, need my adapter. Thank you for reminding me. Not unlocked.
On the way back, we came across an Instavolt charger at Booths, which was easily the worst experience of the lot. The first charging point refused to recognise the debit card despite many attempts, and there was no indication there was any issue with it. In the end, we had to drive up to the next charging point, but hilarity ensued when my father realised he had left his adapter on the first charging point. If he hadn't realised, he could have easily driven off without it. Phew, that was a close one. Unfortunately, that next charging point was problematic as well, refusing initially to talk with the car and throwing up red lights.
It says charging stopped.
It's gone red now.
It did work on a second try, but the experience was excruciating. All in all, this was certainly an eye-opening experience. When it worked well, the experience was a breeze. You rock up, plug in the car and it starts charging, able to add a significant amount of charge in a relatively short period of time. It's also a perfect excuse to stop off for a coffee or a snack whilst you're waiting. But at its worst, it was embarrassing. It really felt like we were beta testers and should have just been grateful that any of them worked at all. If we were actually low on battery, some of these issues could have turned a nice day out into a nightmare. For Tesla users, the answer is simple. Charge at home or at the dedicated Tesla superchargers. For everyone else, you're at the mercy of the EV charging gods. Anyway, thanks for watching the video. This was certainly a bit different to what I usually cover, but it was a lot of fun to make. If you liked the video, then please give a thumbs up, as it really does mean a lot for small channels like this. And if you'd like to see more, then please subscribe and stick around as Jonas takes it on.